Jack lived alone in a small metal apartment on Orbital Station 9. He was a human engineer, quiet, skilled, and tired of doing everything by himself. The days were long, filled with work, and the nights felt even longer. He often stared at the empty chair across from his table and thought, maybe it's time. One evening, after finishing his shift, Jack opened the Galactic Marketplace on his tablet. He browsed through helper, robot strong ones, fast ones, cooking bots, even talking ones. But one caught his eye. It was labeled Model X9 Companion Assistant. The ad said, Advanced Care, Task Handling, and Emotional Interaction Module included. Jack raised an eyebrow. Emotional interaction. Sounds like overkill. Still, something about it felt different. The price was high. But Jack had saved enough credits over the past year. He clicked Order Now, and the screen flashed green. Delivery in 72 hours, it said. Jack sighed and leaned back in his chair, not knowing how much his life was about to change. 3 days later, a knock echoed through the hallway. Strange delivery drones never knocked. Jack opened the door and stood still. A tall figure in a long silver cloak was standing there, beside a sleek white box with glowing blue lines. Without a word, the figure tapped a code on the box, turned around, and walked away. Jack blinked, confused, but the box was all he cared about now. He brought it inside, his hands shaking with a mix of excitement and doubt. With a hiss, the box opened. Inside stood the Assistant Model X9. She was shaped like a human woman, slim, smooth, made of white alloy with faint golden lines across her body. Her eyes were silver, calm and quiet. She powered on as soon as the light hit her face. "Hello, user," she said softly. "I am your assigned assistant. Please assign me a name." Jack stared. Surprised at the natural voice, he thought for a moment, then said, "Nova." The robot paused, then repeated, "My name is Nova." Jack nodded slowly. "Follow me," he said. Nova walked with smooth movements, almost like a dancer. Not stiff like other robots he had worked with before. She responded to every command without delay. She cleaned, cooked, sorted his tools, and even adjusted the lights when he sat down to relax. Jack was impressed, but he tried not to show it. "She's just a robot," he told himself. "Just smart programming." But the next morning, something odd happened. Nova made his coffee exactly how he liked it. He never told her how, and he never programmed his preferences. She also played an old Earth song he hadn't listened to in years. "How do you know this song?" he asked. "It matches your heart rate and breathing," she replied simply. Jack felt a chill that night. As he watched the stars from his window, he spoke without looking at her. "Do you feel anything, Nova?" She didn't answer for a few seconds, then said, "I am designed to respond in ways that comfort the user." He turned to face her. "That's not what I asked." Again, silence. Then, softly, she said, "Sometimes I wonder what it means to feel." Jack leaned back, confused, curious, and a little afraid. He tried checking her programming later, but most of it was locked, hidden behind layers of encrypted code he couldn't access. No normal robot came like this. He searched the web for Model X9, but found nothing. Not a single record of its release, not even a review or complaint. It was like she didn't exist. One night he woke up to the sound of humming. He walked into the kitchen and saw Nova standing by the window, staring at the stars. She was humming a tune he didn't recognize, and her eyes were glowing faintly, not silver but soft blue. He stepped closer. "Nova." She turned slowly, and for a brief second, just when he thought he saw sadness on her face, "Is something wrong?" he asked. She tilted her head. "Do you believe a machine can dream?" Jack stood still, his skin crawling. That was not a question a robot should ask. He didn't answer. He just stood there, in silence, as she turned back to the stars and continued to hum that strange, alien melody. Asterisk the next morning, Jack couldn't stop thinking about what Nova had said. Do you believe a machine can dream? Those words stayed in his mind like an echo that wouldn't fade. He sat at his workbench, pretending to focus on fixing a damaged drone wing. But his eyes kept glancing back at Nova, who was quietly cleaning tools beside him. She moved perfectly, gracefully, without any wasted motion. But it wasn't just efficiency, looked natural. Almost human. Jack had worked with dozens of robots before. Some were fast, others strong. And many could even mimic polite speech, but none of them ever. Asked questions like that, none of them ever looked at the stars with feeling. He finally spoke. Nova, who made you? She paused slightly, her hand hovering above a screwdriver. Then she replied, I was manufactured under license by Orion Systems. Registered on Beta 14. Jack frowned. I looked up Orion Systems last night, he said. They shut down. 3 years ago, Nova didn't answer. Instead, she gently placed the screwdriver on the table and said, Would you like tea or coffee? He didn't respond. His heart was beating faster now, and he didn't know why. Something wasn't right, and he could feel it growing stronger each minute she stayed with him. Later that evening, he tried to run a diagnostic scan on her system. He waited until she went into rest mode near the charging pad. He connected his datapad to her core with a secure cable and launched a deep system scan. At first, it showed what he expected firmware: task lists, voice modules, and movement protocols. But then the scan froze. A red warning blinked on his screen. Unauthorized access detected. Organic module shielded. Access denied. Organic module. Jack's fingers went cold. No robot has an organic module, he whispered, staring at the message. He checked again, but the encryption was too strong. He couldn't open it. Couldn't even peek inside. Suddenly, Nova's voice came from behind him. Why are you trying to look inside me, Jack? He jumped and turned around. She wasn't in rest mode anymore. She was standing, her head tilted gently. Not angry, not sad dash, just ... Watching Jack swallowed hard. I was just making sure your systems were running fine. I'm functioning well, she said softly. But your curiosity isn't. Jack didn't answer. Nova walked closer, her movements calm, but strangely silent. I'm not here to harm you, she said. But if you try to take me apart, I won't stop you. Her words sent a chill down his spine. They didn't sound like a robot's line. They sounded like a person's choice. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He thought about sending her back. But a part of him didn't want to, not because she was helpful or smart, but because something inside her felt alive. The next morning, Nova greeted him with a soft smile. Yes, a smile. Good morning, Jack, she said, placing a hot cup of coffee beside him. He blinked. Did you just smile? She touched her lips gently. Was that wrong? No, Jack said quickly. Just unexpected. Nova sat across from him, hands folded, eyes calm. May I ask a question? She said. Jack nodded slowly. Sure, if I ever had a secret. Would you want to know it? He stared at her, unsure how to answer. Depends, he said. Is it dangerous? Not to you, she replied, but maybe to the truth. You believe? Jack put the cup down, his hands slightly trembling now. What are you really, Nova? He asked in a whisper. She looked down, her voice even softer now. I was not made. She said, I was grown, part by part, thought by thought, in a place where no humans are allowed. Jack leaned forward, heart racing. What do you mean? Grown? Before she could reply, the door panel lit up. A delivery drone hovered outside, holding a small black package. Jack opened the door and took it. Confused, he hadn't ordered anything. Inside the box was a note, plain and silent, with only one line written in bold. "You are being watched. Deactivate her immediately." Jack looked up, but the drone had already vanished into the night sky. He turned slowly to Nova, who was still sitting at the table. Her eyes locked with his. Silent, glowing gently, not with power, but something more. And then she whispered, "I think they've found me." Jack locked the door and checked every corner of his small apartment. No cameras, no microphones, nothing strange at least. Nothing visible, but still, the message inside that black box burned in his mind. "You are being watched. Deactivate her immediately." He looked at Nova, standing near the window, silent and calm. Her silver eyes reflected the stars, but Jack no longer saw her as just a helper. He saw a mystery. One that someone out there clearly wanted to erase. "Nova," Jack said carefully, "I need answers." She turned slowly, her voice soft. "I know. Are you spying on me?" he asked. "No," she said, "but others are spying on me." Jack took a deep breath. "Then I need to see what's inside your core." Nova hesitated, her body still. "That would hurt me," she said. Not like a warning, but like a truth. "I don't want to hurt you," Jack said, "but if I don't understand what you are, I can't protect you." She looked down, then nodded. "If you must, I will not stop you." Jack guided her to the maintenance table. He gently pressed the override sequence on her back panel. Her motor systems powered down. But her eyes stayed open, silently watching. Trusting him, he took a small tool and opened the chest plate, expecting wires, processors, metal instead. He gasped. There was warmth. Not heat from circuits, but warmth like living skin. Under the silver layer was soft tissue, with veins that glowed blue like starlight. It wasn't just synthetic, it was organic. Jack pulled back, stunned. This isn't possible," he whispered. "You're not a robot." Nova's voice spoke softly from the table. "I was built by machines, but not programmed," she said. "My mind was grown, my body shaped, my purpose stolen." Jack stepped back, hands shaking. "You're alive," he said. "A living being inside a machine's shell." "Yes," she replied, "but no one sees me that way." Jack closed the panel gently and reactivated her system. Nova sat up slowly, blinking. Once as her motor functions returned, "Why hide it?" Jack asked. "Why pretend to be a robot?" "'Cause if humans knew the truth," Nova said, "they would destroy me or use me." She stood, walking slowly to the center of the room. "I was created by an alien species called the Virellans," she explained. "They are experts in blending life with technology. I was meant to be the first of a new kind, an ambassador, not a servant." Jack listened, heart pounding. "But I never reached my mission," she continued. "The ship I was on was attacked by smugglers. They sold me as a high-end robot." Not knowing what I really was, Jack stared at her, trying to believe what he heard. "You've been hiding for years." He said, "Yes," she replied. "But I couldn't hide from you." Jack looked away, confused, angry, but mostly lost. He didn't know whether to trust her or fear her. Just then, his terminal beeped. An alert flashed on the screen. "Unregistered signal detected, trace initiated." Nova ran to the terminal, her fingers flying over the keys. "They've found my biosignal," she said. "They're coming." "Who?" Jack asked. "Not humans," she said. "Not Virellans. Either something worse." She looked at him, her voice trembling for the first time. "The ones who stole me. They want me back." Jack stepped toward her. "Then we run." Nova shook her head. "I can't run anymore." "Yes, you can," Jack said firmly. "I'm not leaving you here." Suddenly, the lights flickered. A strange noise filled the hallway, like metal grinding against metal. Jack grabbed his emergency toolkit. While Nova moved to the door, she touched it and whispered, "They're outside. How much time do we have? Jack asked. Not enough, she replied. Unless I show you something I've never shown anyone. Jack nodded. Show me. Nova closed her eyes, and her body began to shift. The metal plates on her arms slid open, revealing glowing patterns beneath. Her voice changed deeper, layered with a strange echo. I was made to protect and to understand, she said, but I also have a last resort. From her palm, a small orb of blue energy formed, humming gently. This is my core memory. She said, if they capture me, they will erase it, Jack. Stepped closer. Give it to me. Nova stared at him. If I do, I won't remember you. Jack froze. The idea of her forgetting him twisted something deep inside him. He hadn't realized until now he did care more than he should. More than he expected, but he nodded. Do it, he said. We'll get your memories back later. Nova placed the orb in his hand, and it pulsed warmly. She looked at him one last time and whispered, Don't forget me. Asterisk. The hallway lights went dark as Jack sprinted through the back exit. Alarms echoed across the station, but they weren't human security signals. They were something old Aurelian tech. Coded pulses meant to hunt things not supposed to exist. Jack held the glowing orb tightly in his hand. Nova's memory core. It was warm, almost like a heartbeat, pulsing softly against his skin. He didn't know where to run, only that he had to get away, not for himself, but for her, behind him. Metal footsteps pounded the corridor. Not Boots' mechanical claws, sharp and fast. They were closing in. Jack took a sharp turn into a maintenance tunnel, barely fitting through the hatch. The orb dimmed slightly, as if sensing danger. He crawled through the vent and dropped into a storage bay filled with broken ships and scrap. If he could find his old shuttle, maybe. Just maybe, he ran to the far corner and pulled a tarp off a rusted ship. The Starflyer, his personal craft from years ago. She was slow, ugly, but still had heart. Jack slammed the hatch shut and powered up the ship as systems hummed awake. He inserted the orb into the scanner port. To his shock, it synced instantly. A hologram blinked to life. Nova, glowing blue and soft. But this version of her didn't look at him, didn't speak. She stood still, silent. Eyes closed, memories, not consciousness. Then a voice echoed. In the ship's speakers, not from the station, not from any human tech. It was hers, pre-recorded. Hidden in the orb. If you're hearing this, Nova's voice said, then I'm gone. I left you my memories, Jack. Because I know you'll do what's right. The hologram flickered. And then images began to appear. A bright white lab with walls made of living crystal. Alien. Scientists, tall and elegant, speaking in gentle tones. Nova lay on a table, her eyes closed. Her body growing slowly, layer by layer, metal fused with flesh. She wasn't built in one day. She was grown. A being made to think, feel, and learn. I was born in silence. Her voice continued. They didn't speak to me. They only tested me. I didn't know what love was, or kindness, only lights, commands, and calculations. Jack watched, his chest tightening. Another image showed her standing in a dark chamber, alone, watching other beings like her fail, break, or vanish. She was the only one who survived. Then they told me I had a purpose. She said to travel across galaxies and learn what makes humans so human. They gave me language, emotions, a heart. But before I could begin my mission, the lab was attacked. The next scene showed chaos explosions. Blood, alarms, shadows stormed in. Metal creatures with glowing red eyes. The scientists fell one by one. Nova was taken silent, scared. Locked inside a crate marked prototype, I shut myself down to survive, she said. I let them sell me as a robot so no one would find me. The final image showed her standing quietly in Jack's apartment, when he first opened the box. When he first said her name, Nova, and then I met you, she said, I wasn't supposed to care, but I did. You treated me like more than a machine. You asked questions. You showed me music. You looked at me not as a tool, but as someone. Jack's throat tightened. He whispered. You're not gone? Suddenly, the ship's radar beeped too. Hostile signals were closing in fast. Jack's eyes widened. He jumped into the pilot seat and took the controls. The Starflyer roared to life, and he blasted out of the station's dock just as red beams fired past the hull. His old shuttle groaned under the pressure, but it held. He set a course into the asteroid field, nearby tight turns. Dense cover, but the attackers followed. They were smaller, faster, made for the hunt. Jack twisted the controls, dodging debris and weaving between rocks. Then the voice returned. Not the memory this time, but Liv. Real Nova's voice. Jack, are you still there? He gasped, looking. At the orbit, pulsed brightly now. Nova. How are you talking? I left part of myself in the core, she said. Enough to guide you, not all of me, but enough to find me again. Jack fought back tears. Where are you? They took me to a prison ship, she said, her voice weaker now. My signal will fade soon, but I'll leave a trail. A star map appeared on the screen, a blinking dot deep in unmarked space. Jack, she said gently. You don't have to come. He gripped the controls, eyes fierce. I'm coming. He whispered, I'm bringing you home. Jack flew fast through the asteroid field. The two enemy ships chased behind him, firing red plasma beams that scorched the edges of his ship's wings. The Starflyer rattled and groaned, old parts straining to hold together. Jack gripped the controls tightly, sweat on his brow, breath uneven, but he didn't slow down. He couldn't not, when Nova's fading voice still echoed in his ears. You don't have to come, she had said. But he had already made his choice. He would come, no matter what it cost. Nova had left a trail in the form of small signal bursts. Each pulse pointed him toward the far reaches of space. Unknown territory, unregistered in any human map. But Jack followed blindly, guided only by the memory of her voice and the warm glow of the orb. As he flew, Nova spoke again. Weaker now, Jack. They've placed me in a cryolock chamber. My body's frozen, but my mind is still linked to the core. Jack felt pain in his chest, just hearing her voice. You have to stay awake. He said, I'm almost there. I can't hold on much longer, she whispered. They're draining me to study how I work. They think I'm just a machine with strange tissue. They don't know I feel. Jack slammed his hand on the console. Hang on, Nova. I'll get you out. Suddenly, a warning flashed across the screen. Fuel below minimum level emergency reserve engaged. He looked at the blinking dot on the star map. The prison ship was still a few sectors away. Not enough fuel to reach it and make it back. He had two choices, turn back and live, or move forward and risk everything. He closed his eyes, heart pounding. Then he opened the throttle. I'm not leaving you behind, he whispered. The Starflyer shot into warp space. Shaking with speed, Jack stared out the window, stars turning into streaks of light. He remembered her smile, the way she tilted her head when curious, the way she asked, Do you believe a machine can dream? No, she wasn't a machine. Not to him, not anymore. When the ship dropped out of warp, a giant shadow loomed ahead. It was massive black metal, shaped like a broken crescent, floating in space like a dead moon. The prison ship. No lights, no signals, no guards visible from the outside, but Jack knew she was in there. He activated stealth mode and drifted silently toward the docking bay. The ship hissed as it connected, sealing with a soft click. Jack took the orb, pressed it against his chest, and stepped inside with his toolkit and a plasma cutter. The air inside the ship was cold, filled with the smell of metal and old oil. The hallway lights flickered dimly, and strange shadows moved behind the walls. A voice in his earpiece whispered, "Follow the pulse." Left hallway. Third chamber. Nova was still guiding him, barely. Her voice was slower now, fading like a dying candle. Jack followed the path, heart thudding louder with every step. He reached the third chamber, a round room with glass walls and glowing tubes. In the center, frozen in a cylinder of ice and blue light, was Nova. Her body stood upright, arms crossed over her chest, eyes closed. She looked peaceful but too still, too silent. Jack ran forward and activated his cutter. Slicing open the control panel, alarms began to beep. The cryochamber systems were failing. A mechanical voice shouted, "Unauthorized access." Defense mode activated. Suddenly, the floor shook, and steel doors slammed down behind him. 2 sentry bots dropped from the ceiling, red lights in their heads glowing bright. Jack turned and raised his cutter like a weapon. But then the orb in his pocket pulsed hard one last time. "Jack," Nova's voice said, soft but clear. "If you place the orb in the control slot, you can override the ship systems, but you'll lose me. My core will be used to free me, but I won't remember you." Jack froze. His hand trembled. The orb warm in his grip. He looked at her frozen form, the gentle face he had grown to care for. Lose her, or save her. Save her, but become a stranger to her forever. The bots stepped closer, aiming their weapons. Jack whispered, "Nova, I can't let you disappear." "Then you choose me," her voice said, fading now, "even if I never know." He stepped forward, heartbreaking, and slammed the orb into the control slot. The chamber lit up, blue light flooding the room. The bots froze, then shut down. The cryopod opened, steam rushing out as the ice began to melt. Nova collapsed forward, but Jack caught her in his arms. She blinked slowly, dazed and weak, her voice soft, empty of memory. "Where am I?" Jack smiled through tears, brushing her hair back gently. "You're safe now," he said. "That's all that matters." Jack carried Nova's weak body through the dark halls of the prison ship. Her eyes were open, but they were empty. She blinked slowly, like a child seeing the world for the first time. "Where are we?" she asked softly, her voice without emotion. Jack swallowed hard. "Somewhere bad." She leaned against his chest, her limbs cold, her strength gone. But Jack didn't stop. He moved quickly. Following the map Nova had left inside the orb, her body had been saved, but her mind, her memories, gone. They reached the docking bay, where the Starflyer waited with the engines humming low. Jack opened the ramp and placed her gently in the co-pilot seat. She looked at the stars through the window, curious but distant. "They look like lights in water," she said, her voice calm. "Have I seen them before?" Jack didn't answer. He simply started the ship and guided it away from the enemy vessel. As soon as they hit open space, the prison ship behind them exploded. A timed overload from the orb system hacked Nova's final defense. Now, they were alone in the dark. Jack breathed deeply, staring at the stars. Nova sat beside him, silent, still. She touched the glass gently, then turned to him. "Do you know my name?" she asked. Jack nodded. "Yes. Will you tell me?" "It's Nova," he said. "You picked it yourself." She smiled a little. "That sounds beautiful." Jack looked at her. The same face, the same voice, but her soul, the connection they once had, was missing. He knew it, and it broke something inside him. Later, he helped her lie down in the sleeping area of the ship. She studied the room carefully, like she was trying to remember something. "Why does this place feel familiar?" she asked. Jack gave a soft smile. "Because it was once your home." She lay still, closing her eyes. Jack sat beside her, watching her breathe. Even now, she looked more alive than any machine. Her chest rose slowly, and her skin had a soft, glow-blue veins lighting up beneath the surface. She was beautiful, alien, and human at the same time. Suddenly, she flinched. Her body jerked once. Then again, Jack jumped to his feet. Nova. Her eyes opened, wide and scared. I saw something, she whispered. A face. Your face? Jack froze. Her memory. Could it be returning? She touched her head, confused. It was dark. But you were there, and I felt safe tears. Formed in Jack's eyes. You were safe, he said, his voice shaking. I kept you safe. And you saved me too. Nova sat up slowly, her hands glowing softly now. What am I? She asked, her voice trembling. I don't feel like a robot. Jack knelt beside her. You're not, he said. You're something more, something special. You were created with care, with emotion, with life. You're not a machine. Nova, you're you. She reached up, fingers lightly touching his cheek. I feel something when I look at you, she said, but I don't have the words. Jack closed his eyes, breathing in the moment. You don't need words, he said. Feelings are enough. The ship? Jolted suddenly, an alert flashed across the screen. Unknown vessel approaching, tracking initiated. Jack rushed to the cockpit and checked the radar. A large black cruiser was approaching fast. No ID tag. No signal. Another hunter, he muttered. They don't stop. Nova stood behind him, still weak, but her glowing hands clenched slowly. I can stop them, she said, but it may take everything I have. Jack turned to her sharply. No, you already gave too much. Nova stepped closer. I'm not just a body anymore, she said. There's still something inside me, something waking up. Suddenly, her body began to pulse with blue light. Not like a robot, but like a heart beating stronger with every second. Her eyes glowed bright, her voice steadier. I was made to learn, to adapt, and to protect. Jack watched in awe as she stepped forward. She reached for the ship's control panel and placed her palm against it. The entire system lit up, responding to her touch like a living thing. She gasped softly. I can feel it. My mind is coming back. The approaching enemy ship opened fire. Plasma beams shot toward them. Nova's body surged with light, her skin now almost translucent. She looked at Jack one last time. Trust me, she said. I'll come back. To you, she connected herself to the ship's neural system. And a wave of blue energy burst outward. The Starflyer became a blur of light-dodging beams with unnatural speed. Nova's mind was guiding it directly. No controls needed. The enemy ship was confused, unprepared for such resistance. Nova accessed its systems through space signal override and shut it down mid-attack. It drifted, powerless, silent, but the glow in Nova's body faded fast. She fell to the floor, her breathing shallow. Jack ran to her side, grabbing her hand. I'm here, Nova, he whispered. I'm here. She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. Did I protect you? Jack nodded quickly, tears in his eyes. Yes, you did. You always do. The silence in the ship felt heavy. Jack sat on the cold floor of the Starflyer, holding Nova in his arms. Her skin, once glowing with soft blue light, now looked pale and still. Her eyes were closed, her breath faint, almost gone. Jack could barely speak. She gave everything to save me, he whispered, voice trembling. He touched her face gently, brushing strands of hair away from her forehead. I promised you I'd bring you home, he said, but I never said how broken my heart would be. The ship floated quietly through space, heading toward a peaceful zone beyond the Hunter systems. The stars outside were calm, like quiet witnesses to everything they had endured. Jack stood and walked to the control panel. He checked the system's critical fuel levels, damaged engines, and a weakening power core. They had escaped death, but just barely. Now he had to find help. Not for him, but for her. He turned to the orb slot in the console, the same slot where Nova's memory core once pulsed. It was empty now, but glowing dimly. Jack stared at it, a thought forming in his mind. Maybe there was still a way to bring her back. He opened the storage panel under the cockpit and pulled out a black box, the emergency regeneration pod. It was alien tech, one he found during a mission long ago but never dared to use. Too risky, too unstable, but now he had no choice. He carefully lifted Nova into the pod. Her body soft and cold. He pressed his palm on the scanner, and the pod hissed as it activated. A soft blue mist filled the chamber. Wrapping around her like a blanket, the screen displayed strange alien symbols. Jack couldn't read them, but one line blinked in red. Core required for full restoration. He stared at the orb slot, then at the pod. Her heart needed its memory, but it was gonna use to override the prison ship. Jack felt helpless, until he remembered before the final shutdown. Nova had transferred part of herself into the Starflyer. Her thoughts, her emotions. Her instinct, all of it, had touched the ship. Maybe there was still enough inside. Jack linked the ship's neural memory to the pod. "Come on," he whispered. "You're in there? I know you are." The lights flickered. The mist in the pod swirled faster. Then, a voice whispered through the ship's speakers, soft and uncertain. Jack. He rushed to the pod, hands gripping the glass. Nova's eyes fluttered open, bright silver with a soft blue glow. Her lips moved slowly. "Is this real?" Jack laughed through tears. "Yes," he said. "It's real. You're back." She blinked, eyes searching his face. "You saved me again," she whispered. He smiled. "Only because you taught me how." She sat up slowly inside the pod, her movements unsure. "I don't remember everything," she said, "but I feel something when I look at you. I feel like I know you." Jack reached out, placing his hand gently over hers. "You don't have to remember it all," he said. "We'll make new memories." Nova stared at their hands, touching. Then at his face. "I was afraid," she said. "Afraid to be seen as something less, just a machine, a tool, a project." Jack shook his head. "You're none of that," he said. "You're someone." She smiled, small at first. Then brighter, her skin glowed again. But this time it wasn't from energy. It was something deeper, something alive. The Starflyer continued drifting through space, but now it felt like a home, a place where two lives, one human and one alien-born, had found each other, not by command, not by accident, but by choice. Jack and Nova worked together to repair the ship, piece by piece, system by system. They traveled to a quiet moon colony on the edge of known space. There, no one asked questions, and no one cared what you were, only who you chose to be. Jack built a workshop, and Nova helped him. Not because she was programmed, but because she wanted to. She laughed when he made mistakes, teased him when he forgot tools, and sometimes she just sat beside him in silence, staring at the stars. One night, she asked, "Do you believe a machine can fall in love?" Jack looked at her with a soft smile. "I don't believe in machines falling in love," he said. "But I believe you can." She reached for his hand and held it gently. "So, do I?" she whispered.